Seafarers are people who work on ships in various capacities.
Kila mtu anakuwa na sehemu yake anayoshikilia.
Seafarers ensure 90% of global trade.
Tunazunguka yani dunia nzima. Shanaelewa.
KTN News takes an inside eye into this crucial industry.
Tuichukulie kama nchi yetu, tunachukulia si kama wageni.
Naweza kukaa baharini miezi 17, naweza kukaa baharini miezi 16, ndio unaenda show.
For 14 years, Fakim Mwazuki prided himself in being a Kenyan seafarer. His specialization was handling communications. One of his most memorable times as a seafarer was when he was tasked with handling external communications for a South Korean fishing vessel.
Sasa unaingia nchi kama Malaysia, Indonesia ama Singapore, una coordinate in English. Sasa wale hawajui. Sasa kivyo vyote watanibembeleza niende nifundishwe ile terms za communication. Ni unaweza communicate ieleweke ile mailing katika nchi ya watu.
Then came a time when the tides of fortune changed. Now Fakim does casual construction work just to make ends meet and to provide for his family.
Sasa hisia ni kuwa kule kumepungua, vile vyombo vimepungua. Usione nimekuja hapa kwa mswala haya. Ushanaelewa bwana, ni kule kile chombo kifika unaangalia bahari. Mwanzo unawekewa section, huyu kanyagi uko baharini. Naambiwa kati sijui nini ama wewe unaambiwa ni mwivi. Sasa mimi na seaman book. Ile seaman book niende kule nikaangalie vyuma. Kulingana na ujuzi wangu wa kuongea na watu nini na nini naweza kupata kazi. Tafadhali njimwage hapa za kupata bandali yangu ya unga na papa wangu napeleka nyumbani. Ona bwana, I become a correct father.
The tides changed not just for him, but for hundreds of other Kenyan seafarers. The sector was going through a depression, and jobs were no longer available. Juma Momanyi has been selling yams at the Kongowea market in Mombasa since the year 2000. For 15 years prior to this, he worked aboard international vessels.
Nikafanya na Bonsela, nikafanya na MV Morin, MV Mvita. Baada ya hapo, sekta ya baharia ilikufa.
Juma tells us that if we want to see the true face of despair wrought in the industry, we need to drive to a certain place very close to the Mombasa port. The picture far more desperate than Juma described. This meeting was not prearranged.
Kwa kweli kazi haipatikani, na kama utapata kazi hapa mshahara uko chini wenye hata uwezo ukafanyia chochote.
Huwa kunakuwa na siku nzuri, hakuna siku yote nzuri. Kila mara sisi tuarauka tunatembea, maana sasa wajua uwezo kuamka asubuhi na ukakaa nyumbani mpaka jioni.
Ukienda kila unapogonga hakuna issue. Mwisho unakuja kupasia kama hii.
And they all are always prepared.
Shida iko wapi? Tuko na vyeti hapa, watu wengine tuna ujuzi. Lakini kazi hakuna. Kuingia poti yenyewe saa nyingine useme unatafuta kazi pale, hakuna. Tuko na family, wengine tuko na watoto wako form 4, mpaka saa nyingine watoto wanafukuzwa.
On the 8th of December 1966, the Eastern African National Shipping Line Limited, then based in Mombasa and owned jointly by the governments of Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda in the East African Community, bought a German-built cargo ship. She was named MV Harambee. MV Harambee sailed for 13 years for the company alongside 4 other vessels managed by the East African Shipping Line Company. The others were MV Jogofo, also from Kenya, MV Uganda, Tanzania's MV Jitegemee, and Zambia's MV Mulunguzi. With her own ships, the East African community carried her own imports and exports and competed favorably with other super ferries. Then in 1977, the community collapsed. So did the shipping line.
Also, with the demise of the shipping line, we also stopped training seafarers. So maybe if you observed now, we've got very old retired people and very young who are coming in now, in between a big gap. So we lost time.
As if that was not enough, international maritime standards as regulated by the International Maritime Organization would see Kenyan seafarers locked out of international opportunities. Kenya ratified the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers of 1978, which sets minimum qualification standards for masters, officers and watch personnel on seagoing merchant ships. An amendment to this convention became the weight that sank the Kenyan ship.
IMO was given the mandate to actually come and audit the institutions, the structures, the governance within a country that was undertaking that training. And because of technological changes and the issues, we were not able to match. And when it came into force, our seafarers lost their employment on board foreign-going ships.
The years that followed would go silent as the grave for this sector. Seafarers were left to fend for themselves, often looking for jobs with foreign ship owners. Today, jobs at foreign vessels are both elusive and marred with blatant discrimination. At the Mombasa port, we get aboard a foreign cargo ship that had just docked here some hours earlier. Abdallah Said is the only Kenyan working here. A vastly traveled and experienced seaman, his job now is that of a watchman.
Watu wamekimbiwa na mabibi zao, hakuna kazi. Watu sasa wanafanya baharia, anafanya kazi ya mtaro, wanafanya kazi yani tofauti ambazo hazilingani na akikwambia yeye alikuwa kwa Ulaya, wewe mwenyewe huwezi fikiria kama huwezi kumwamini kama wewe kweli alikuwa Ulaya.
Kenya government has a full-fledged Ministry of Labour which is doing nothing in support of the seafarers well trained from Bandari College. What used to happen during those days of Said Medi, those days of Abdallah Marua as leaders, during those days, they used to liaise with the government to provide support for the general secretaries of seafarers, Said Medi and people like Abdallah Marua. They were all parliamentarians. They could go outside there in Germany to sign agreement with seafarers, with the vessels owners, Spain, Italy, they could go to Sweden, they could go to all those places to sign. They say, we have 600. They recruit them here first, and then they go to look employment for them.
They had a very strong union, by the way. The Seafarers Union of Kenya was actually a very big pillar of the trade union movement because it was very strong. Therefore, the union broke up, and we lost the leverage, the foundation upon which we used to take our people to sea.
The Principal Secretary at the State Department of Fishing and Maritime Affairs, Mrs. Nancy Karigithu, who is a former director at the Kenya Maritime Authority, says that the government has been putting efforts to restore the sector.
One of the issues to mend this problem was the separation of maritime operations with regulation, to have a strong regulator. So enter Kenya Maritime Authority in 2004 to come and fix some of these problems. And therefore, we did the measures, we put in place the measures that were necessary, and we changed the law. That was one of the major issues, one of the major bottlenecks, because we had this law that was so old, and then this rapidly, introduced changes that could not be accommodated with the regulations. Then we needed to bring on board the training institutions and oversight them, and be sure that they are doing the right thing. But we managed to do a new law in 2009. Then in 2010, we were whitelisted. But as always happens, of course, when you lose your ground, somebody else feels it. Now, trying to recover has been our journey since then.
Desperate times call for desperate actions. With seafarers now looking for jobs on foreign vessels by themselves, the cushion of government protection and scrutiny of the kind of contract entered by foreigners increasingly eroded. For many months, KTN News has been following up on cases related to the plight of seafarers. Like this case of 5 Kenyan seafarers who were stranded in Asia for close to 2 years after their vessel, MV Queen Bihanga, broke down. The 5, Athman Mzee Hamisi, alias Rotation, who is listed as a ship's master, Imbuga Agri Diede, an electrician, Mapinga Mwalimu, a bosun, Tela Hamisi Juma, a cook, and Yusuf Omar Ragunda, a greaser, were left in a deplorable state after the ship owner abandoned the vessel at the port of Jakarta, Indonesia. They had no food, no water, and no pay. After negotiations with the Kenyan consulate in Jakarta and the Kenya Maritime Authority, the crew were rescued, arriving at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi on the 3rd of November 2017.
Mtoto wangu huyo wa miaka 10 ni mtu ambaye kidogo kimasomo ni mwerevu na ni mjanja yani kivili alivyo yeye. Kwa hiyo alikuwa mara kwa mara akinipigia simu, "Dad, you have to come home. Because now it's too long, you left your mom and us, so means that you don't want us." Lakini nilijitahidi sana kumrai, kumbembeleza mpaka akawa yani anielewi. Bado tunaenda nifuate.
6 months later, KTN News visited one of the rescued members, Mapinga Mwalimu, at his home in Shella Beach area, Likoni, Mombasa.
Kwa kweli mawazo yalikuwa mengi, mume wako waza, watoto wako waza, baba yao wakuliza, baba atakuja lini, baba atakuja lini, waambia tu baba atakuja, kufika hafiki.
A few days after our interview, we are informed that Mwalimu Mapinga died following an ailment.
The family reports to the Kenya government. Nobody's making any efforts to know where did this person stuck and for how long has this person been in the middle of the sea. And how is he eating? Who is paying this particular person? Kenya government in general, it is insensitive on workers' plight.
Helen has not seen her husband, Charles Omondi Nyamburi, a ship engineer, for 3 years. There's only one way for them to keep in touch.
Kuongea tunawasiliana na WhatsApp peke yake. Maana nasema iko gali akitumia hiyo kupiga simu. Sasa ni WhatsApp ndio tunatumia.
Charles has been stranded in Karachi port in Pakistan aboard MV Misk, which belongs to Juba General Trading Company. While his exploits often have him at sea for months, this is the longest that he has been away from home. His youngest son, barely recognizing his own father.
Watoto wamemkosa sana, wengine hata saa zingine mtoto kama huyu mdogo anaweza kuja akasema sisi hata hatuna baba. Nasema baba atakuja tu, maana sasa huyu mdogo alitoka kama bado ni mdogo sana.
Tulipokuja Karachi, tulikuwa na mzigo wa Karachi tukadeliver na huko tulikuwa tunafaa tuweze mpaka Port Sudan. Na sasa still hatujafika Port Sudan sababu huyu chata alimiskuti ile mambo ya flight yake.
Sisi kama chama bado hatuna nguvu ya kushughulikia mabaharia wa Kenya ambao wako nje ya nchi. Lakini pia wakati wote kumekuwa kukitokea shida nao mabaharia tumekuwa tunakimbilia Kenya Maritime Authority kama serikali na pia wizara husika.
Everybody going to work at sea on board a vessel must pass through Kenya Maritime Authority, because the law says every ship must have a contract.
In Kisauni, Mombasa, we meet Mwanakombo Abdallah. 8 of her children have died. Her son, the late Juma Kumbu, died while in Tanzanian police custody in 2009. The late Juma and 35 other crew members of a Taiwanese fishing vessel, Tawarik 1, were in March of 2009 captured in Tanzania for illegal fishing.
Sina mtu wa kuniambia nini wala ni hili banda likuja lijenga yeye kujua huko. Sema mama kutilia mabamba, kisha nitakuja ondoa, nikaenda huko ngije nitaondoa yote mabovu mtie mapi. Sasa mabovu yake ngaletwa kifo. Antasema nini?
Jackson Toya is one of the 35 crew members that were arrested in Tanzania along the late Juma. A close friend of his, Jackson often visits Juma's gravesite alongside his brother and other friends.
Yule Juma Kumbu ndiye marehemu. Na ule ugonjwa ulimpata kule jela wakati sisi tulikuwa tumewekwa under arrest. 2009 tulikaa pale 2009, 2010, 2011.
Mtu wetu ashaumia, mtu wetu ankufa, hata tupate hata chochote kile. Ndivyo mama naomba atafanya. Serikali si yetu ya wenyewe.
Most of people who are in business are senior civil servants or from the government. They would rather go to Dubai and sign an agreement with a vessel owner that instead of Kenya having its own vessel.
Betty McKenna is Kenya's first ever woman port inspector and the first woman ship inspector in Africa for the International Transport Federation. Regular checks on visiting foreign merchant ships are usually conducted through port state control procedures in order to see that they comply with international rules on maritime safety, security, protection of the marine environment, and seafarers' living and working conditions on board ships.
Labor inspectors kutoka labor, they are not aware of anything of the maritime. Hawajui chochote cha maritime. Hatuna mtaalamu katika ministry ya labor anaojua mambo ya kuinspect mambo ya wafanyikazi wanaofanya baharini, ama kuinspect hizi kampuni tu ziko hapa Mombasa za shipping. Kwa sababu tukikuhesabia kampuni zilio hapa za shipping zinaofanya maovu ya kuleta foreigners kufanya kazi zinazoweza kufanywa na Wakenya, ni kwa sababu sisi kama serikali yetu inashindwa.
The Merchant Shipping Act of 2009 shows that Kenya has good legislation on matters concerning occupational safety, training and certification, as well as regulation of merchant ships. Stakeholders, however, feel that there's a big policy gap in terms of securing employment opportunities for Kenyan seafarers, as well as more economic gain for Kenya.
Jirani yetu Tanzania, kampuni yote na operate katika within Tanzania territory huwa wanapewa condition ya kuwa 90% slot za wafanyikazi ziwe ni wa Tanzania.
There are also plans to revive the shipping line. This particular move would be an answer to prayers by both young and old maritime workers.
I chose the course because I liked being a seafarer. But for now, in my country, there is a lot of uncertainties ahead.
Bandari graduates, diploma holders, JQuat graduates, degree holders, some who have not even gotten the basic sea time training. Those who have gotten basic sea time training like us find problems in getting the relevant certifications and also employment.
System ndio haijaturuhusu. But sisi tukipata baharia kati ya Mkenya na baharia mwingine tunachukua wa Kenya. Lakini ni vile saa nyingine unapata wale wa nje wako na uzoefu.
Issues concerning the welfare of seafarers do not occur in isolation. In fact, this issues navigators further east on the Indian Ocean to the island republic of Seychelles.
ship owner, who for them they look only after the benefits. They don't care about this worker. They treat the fishermen or seamen like more than slavery.
Florent Etienne, the chairman of Roche Cayman Fisheries Association, says that establishing a strong union for seafarers in Seychelles was a great step in protecting their welfare.
Most important is the association. If you build up even a community, even an association, you can do something. If you cannot do this, you won't go any further on.
While Kenya and East Africa went through a lull in marine transportation, Seychelles is one of the countries that positioned herself strategically during this period.
Back in the 80s, when it realized it was in the center of this migration of tuna, okay, or movement of tuna rather, it deliberately positioned itself to become the most important fishing port. And with that grew the other services. Okay, for example, stevedoring. So all the stevedores that help in the transshipment and so forth are all Seychelles. They're all Seychelles-based companies. All the companies that supply these tuna vessels with water, food, and so forth are Seychelles-based companies. So yes, you can have a policy, but if you don't have the infrastructure in the private sector that can do this, then you have a problem.
Progressive policy is what has seen the maritime and fisheries sector in Seychelles thrive. In recent years, fishing in Seychelles waters has developed from an industry intended primarily to sustain the local population to one able to compete internationally as a vital foreign currency earner for Seychelles.
You have to have a policy for development of your ports. You have to have a policy for security. So as you know, Seychelles has been in the forefront of maritime security in the Western Indian Ocean, the fight against piracy.
We have very strong legislation to protect all workers, not only local workers, but also foreign workers working in the country.
Discrimination by vessel owners over wages paid to seafarers is a huge issue internationally.
Madagascar and Seychelles, they are earning as wages $540 per month. But when you look at our brother from Kenya and Tanzania, sometimes they get around $200, but that's not fair. We have to, because we are working in the same vessel and doing the same job, fishing the same kind of fish, we have to give people the same wages.
Salaries are an issue that depends on the GDP of a country, because today the salary anybody earns today means nothing in the UK, because it has to do with the standard of living, the cost of life there. So you may not be able to have one size fits all in terms of salaries in the maritime sector. And that has been proven over and over again.
And in other countries, you cannot use a vessel using about 70% of total of your cargo or 100%, and then inside that vessel there are no your people.
Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania, which harbors a 1,424-kilometer coastline along the Indian Ocean. Here, the country has put measures to secure jobs for their seafarers. However, issues of welfare and wages on foreign vessels are as much a problem here as they are in Kenya.
Unakuta kwamba watu wa ofisi wengi ambao wanakuajiri wewe na wanaokupa kazi hawajui masuala ya ubaharia. Kwa hiyo unapojaribu kuelekezana inachukua muda kuelewana. Hilo ni tatizo kubwa sana.
Kenya has been mulling over the option of opening its ship register in a bid to attract ship owners and secure jobs for local sailors. The country currently runs a closed ship register, which means that KMA only registers local vessels and not the international carriers. Under an open register, Mombasa is projected to become a home port for foreign ships, thus opening up opportunities to Kenyans.
Katika bahari yetu kuna meli zinatoka Salala, Mombasa, Salala, Mombasa. mwaka mzima zinapiga Mombasa Salala. Ni kusikizana na zile meli na zile kampuni, kwa wewe unakuja kila siku Mombasa, tunaomba nafasi ya kazi, tunaomba nafasi ya wanafunzi wetu kupata sea time. Na wewe meli yoyote inapoingia Mombasa na unebeba Wakenya ndani ya ile meli, tunakupa first priority ya kufunga.
A good quality training for its mariners is an area that Seychelles has fortified. The island state boasts of an internationally acclaimed maritime school, which even has its own tankers that enable the students to have sea time, thus producing well-trained and experienced mariners who work in major merchant ships across the world.
Training at the academy to STCW standards. So to maintain those credibility, you have to get certain accreditations from various parties.
Kenya is currently positioning herself to profit from blue economy. She is set to host the first ever global conference on sustainable blue economy in Nairobi from the 26th to 28th November of 2018, drawing more than 4,000 participants from around the world. In line with this, how best can Kenya tap on potential opportunities and align its priorities in order to benefit from the ocean? Which way forward in resolving welfare issues for workers who form the backbone of this vision?
Tena tanyi mngetangaza mambo kila siku, kwa sababu tunakufa hivi.
Kenya doesn't have ships, and in contrast, Ethiopia, a landlocked country, has 13 or so ships. In Kenya, we could have at least bought one ship, even second-hand, to benefit local seafarers.
We are producing fish, we produce tea, we produce coffee, we produce a lot of things. We should be owning our own vessels to transport these things to Europe.
In African Union, they should organize this kind of formation for the associations or trade union that are really fighting for the welfare of seafarers, so that they come together and when they speak as a block.
Na pia tupewe mkurugenzi katika maritime pamoja na bodi ya maritime, ikuwe ni watu wanaojua mambo ya baharini, kwa sababu ile Kenya Maritime ni regulator.
Sharon Momanyi on Special Report CAPSIZED, KTN News.